So right now there's some type of protest happening for the Palestine versus Israel, that whole thing happening over there. And they have all the streets blocked off. Just driving past and I saw that it was taped off, then I saw the flag, so I was like, okay, might as well hop out. First and foremost, I actually want to say that I don't agree with any of it. Period, point blank. I don't care what side of the equation you're on. Violence is violence at the end of the day. And it all needs to chill. It all needs to stop. And, we need to bring back the unity. We need to start learning how to work together, how to build together, how to, see eye to eye, even when we don't see eye to eye. What is that saying? Let bygones be bygones. Now, I know with this situation, people may have felt like, those pushed up against a wall, which they may or may not have been. But I always believe that there are other ways of handling situations, and I stand on that. Now, I believe it was about 2 years ago, right? This was before this whole thing really popped off, right? I actually have it saved in one of my phones. I actually had a dream, and it woke me up out of my sleep. And I remember walking through a city, and it just looked like a war scene. It was like cars on fire. I saw people walking up to cars, shooting at, people through the cars and stuff like that. And I walked into this room almost, right, where I knew that, people were getting took in there and being, So I saw the dude who was kind of orchestrating it, right? And I walk up to this guy. I look him dead in his face, and I say, why are you doing this? I'm kind of terrified, and, I'm asking this out of, empathy and concern almost, right? The dude comes and he looks at me and he says, I'm doing what was done to us. And I immediately bursted out in tears. I woke up from the dream in tears because at that exact moment, I understood that both sides of the equation, both parties are acting off of trauma. Nothing more, nothing less. It's pure trauma. One side feels as if they're being suppressed and, they're trying to get out and they feel like they've done wrong. It's just a whole lot of aspects to one side. Now, the other side is heavily dealing with a whole lot of trauma. We got to remember, these are the same people who dealt with the Holocaust. You can't trust that a whole generation of people have healed, because even for my skin color hasn't even healed from all the things that we've been through. So God forbid something like that happens to us, we may have the same reaction. When we're dealing with, trauma, it's very hard to pinpoint who's wrong, because you see the truth in both sides. You understand why both sides are acting the way that they're acting. Now, just because you understand why one side is acting the way that they're acting does not mean that you agree with why they're doing what they're doing. Like I said earlier, I always believe that there's a way to handle things without having to resort to violence. There's a way to use your brain, our voices, your heart, just the energy and frequency of love, put the ego, put the greed, put the jealousy, put the power down for a second, and we can really work together and build and really see eye to eye. Because some of the things that I've also noticed too is that a lot of these problems are a lot wider than black and white or just one race. We're all dealing with the same thing in some type of facet, but it comes down to whether or not we can see that middle ground, whether we can see that, hey, the solution to your problem may be the exact same solution to my problem. But it wasn't until we put our own ego aside and we put our own perspective aside that we see that there's a bigger picture. There's a bigger picture for the whole world to see. It's bigger than America, Israel, Palestine, Jamaica. I don't care. It's a universal thing that needs to happen right now. And it starts with us. It starts with the people. It starts with the people who have breath. It starts with the people who have eyes, who can, who has a soul, in other words, It starts within. Once we start actually acknowledging self and realizing there's people who are different than us with different perspectives, came up different, just flat out different than us, then maybe, just maybe, we'll be able to move forward. If the world is continuously trying to put things in a black and white perspective, it's going to be very hard for us to get to the core of shit. because a lot of things aren't black and white. So much of it can stop. We don't have to look exactly like the other person, and we don't have to be going through the exact same thing that the other person is going through for us to be going through the same thing, for us to still be one. Unity. Work together, y'all.